These aren't cars. They're spaceships on wheels. From the wedge-shaped Ferrari Modulo to jet-powered monsters like the GM Firebird II, these machines weren't built for roads. They were built for the future. Titanium bodies, glass domes, jet engines, and no doors. This is what happens when designers stop thinking about traffic and start dreaming about other planets. Buckle in. You're about to discover the wildest space cars ever imagined. Watch till the end. The last one will blow your mind.
Number 5. 1970 Lancia Stratos 0. The ultimate space wedge. Feature detail. Year 1970. Designer Marcello Gandini for Bertone. Engine 1.6 litre. Lancia Fulvia Vivif. 4 horsepower. Approximately 115 horsepower. Height 33 inches. 84 centimeters. Lower than the Modulo chassis. Modified Lancia Fulvia doors. No doors. Windshield opens upward. Top speed. Estimated approximately 120 miles per hour. Units made only one. Concept car. The Lancia Stratos 0 is a one-off concept car designed by Marcello Gandini at Bertone and introduced at the 1970 Turin Motor Show. It was never meant for production. It was a bold design statement to show what the future of cars could look like. And it looked like nothing else, wedge-shaped to the extreme, tiny, almost toy-like. So low you could step over it, the wedge car trend began in the late 1960s as car designers leaned into sharp angles and minimal height to symbolize speed, aerodynamics, and futuristic flair. The Stratos 0 was the purest, most radical expression of this idea. Height. Just 33 inches. You read that right. Less than most dining tables. Access. No doors. You enter by lifting the entire windshield like a spaceship hatch. Dashboard. Digital-looking gauges, decades ahead of their time. Steering wheel. Rectangular and minimalistic engine. Mounted in the middle, just behind the driver wheels. Nearly covered, adding to its low-drag look. You didn't sit in the Stratos 0. You climbed down into it like a capsule. The Stratos 0 was built on a heavily modified Lancia Fulvia 1.6 HF chassis, with the engine outputting around 115 horsepower. It wasn't fast or powerful, but that wasn't the point. This car wasn't made to race or cruise. It was made to shock people. Even Gandini himself said it was about throwing a stone into the pond of design, to stir the imagination of engineers and the public alike. The 1960s had seen Bertone, the design house behind Lamborghini Miura, slowly losing favor to rivals like Pininfarina. The Stratos 0 was a bold play by Bertone to get Lancia's attention and secure a design contract for their upcoming rally car. It worked. Shortly after, Bertone was awarded the job, which led to the development of the production Lancia Stratos HF, one of the most successful rally cars of all time. So in a way, this strange little concept car launched a racing dynasty. When the Stratos 0 was unveiled in 1970, people didn't know what to make of it. A car? A spaceship? A stage prop? A prank? Car magazines couldn't stop talking about it. Designers studied it. Children dreamed about it. It didn't just push boundaries. It ignored them entirely. Thanks to its insane design, the Stratos 0 has appeared in music videos, e.g. Moonwalker with Michael Jackson, movies and exhibits, countless car shows, and design retrospectives, Gran Turismo, 6 and 7 video games. It's a cult icon among design geeks and car fans alike. Revolutionary design language helped birth a rally legend, the Stratos HF. Showed that concept cars could be art, not just marketing. Influenced countless designs, even Tesla's Cybertruck echoes this wedge styling. Practicality, zero ground clearance, nearly non-existent heat and comfort, laughably bad. Entry, exit, unworkable in daily life. Engine access, a mechanic's nightmare. It was never meant to work. And that's what made it pure. After decades in storage, the Stratos Zero was restored by a private collector, and now occasionally appears at car shows, under its own power. Yes, the UFO can still drive, and when it does, it looks like it's floating inches off the ground. Even modern hypercars turn their heads when it rolls by. The Lancia Stratos Zero is arguably the most extreme wedge car ever built. It changed how people saw concept cars, design experimentation, what a car could be. It lives on in museums, video games, and the dreams of those who still want their cars to look like spaceships. The 1970 Lancia Stratos Zero is what happens when you let designers ignore every rule. It was impractical, absurd, revolutionary, glorious. It wasn't built for Earth. It was built for car design heaven. Number 4, 1955, Lincoln Futura. From dream car to the Batmobile feature detail. Year 1955, manufacturer Lincoln, Ford Motor Company. Designer Bill Schmidt and John Najjar, Ford Styling. Coach builder, Ghia, Italy. Price to build approximately $250,000, $1955. Engine 368 cubic inches. Lincoln 5, 86.0 liters. Transmission 3-speed automatic. Body style, 2-door concept. Coupe materials, handmade metal body over steel. Chassis, color, pearlized frost, blue with gold tint. Top speed approximately 115 miles per hour. Estimated Futura was a one-off concept car, built not to be sold, but to showcase the future of automotive styling. It was jet age inspired, over the top, impossibly wide, covered in twin plexiglass canopies like a fighter jet designed at Ford's Lincoln division, and hand-built by Ghia of Italy. It was a rolling sculpture, a car from the future, created during America's most optimistic decade. The 1950s were all about rocket fins, jet engines, and space-age curves. And the Futura had all of it cranked to 11. Double canopy bubble windshield. Enclosed rear wheels for a streamlined look. Giant fins at the rear, some of the biggest pre-1959 futuristic dashboard with advanced, for its time, controls. Massive chrome bumpers shaped like torpedoes. You couldn't drive this car without making jaws drop. And it wasn't even meant to be practical. Ford invested an astronomical amount of money in the Futura. Around $250,000 in 1955, equivalent to over $2.5 million today. Why? Because concept cars weren't just for fun. They were used to test radical new ideas, build hype at auto shows, get media attention. And the Futura succeeded on all fronts. It stunned crowds at the 1955 Chicago Auto Show and made headlines across America. After its show career ended, the Futura didn't get scrapped. It got a second life in film. In 1959, it appeared in the MGM film It Started With a Kiss, starring Debbie Reynolds and Glenn Ford. In that movie, it was repainted bright red and treated like an exotic, one-of-a-kind car. But its most legendary transformation was yet to come. In 1966, 20th Century Fox needed a car for the new Batman TV show starring Adam West. They called up George Barris, the famous customizer. Barris had bought the Futura years earlier for just $1 because it had no use anymore. With only 3 weeks before filming, Barris and his team painted it black with red and stripes, modified the fins into bat wings, added gadgets, radar, and flame exhaust, built the now iconic Bat-face grille. Boom, the Batmobile was born. The 1966 Batmobile became one of the most recognized cars in history. Kids across the world watched it every week. Toy makers produced thousands of scale models. Posters, lunchboxes, and lunchroom arguments were fueled by this rolling superhero machine. And yet, under all the gadgets and comic book flair, it was still the 1955 Lincoln Futura shining through the mask. Aerodynamic styling decades before, it was standard jet cockpit design in a car. Concept-first mindset, no concern for production costs, bubble domes, and radar-inspired dashboard. These elements inspired designers for years. You can even trace a visual line from the Futura to 1961, Lincoln Continental, clean, bold lines. 1963, Corvette Stingray, sharper styling, hidden headlights. 1980s wedge-shaped cars, thanks to its angular form. Of course, the Futura was completely impractical for daily use. Bubble canopy, trapped heat inside like an oven. Wide body made it hard to park or drive. Rear visibility was almost zero. Custom body panels meant repairs were impossible. No air conditioning inside that glass cockpit. But again, it wasn't made to be practical. It was made to blow minds. The original Futura, transformed into the Batmobile, was owned by George Barris for decades, put on display in museums and shows, sold at auction in 2013 for $4.6 million. That's right. The $1 concept car turned Batmobile sold for nearly $5 million. The 1955 Lincoln Futura left a double legacy. As a concept car, it represents the boldest spirit of 1950s design. Fearless, experimental, and beautiful. As the Batmobile, it became one of the most iconic pop culture vehicles of all time. The Futura wasn't just a car. It was a vision of tomorrow, dressed in chrome and bubble glass. It helped define 1950s concept car culture. Lived again as the most famous TV car ever proved that art and engineering could collide in style. And even now, nearly 70 years later, people still look at it and ask, is that real? Yes. Very real, very expensive, and very, very cool. Number 3, 1942, Earth Electrique, the Electric Egg, feature. Detail year, 1942. Designer Paul Arzens, French industrial designer. Name, meaning electric egg. Powertrain, electric motor battery. Type lead-acid, 8 to 12 volt batteries. Range approximately 60 to 100 kilometers. 37 to 62 miles. Per charge, estimated. Top speed, approximately 70 kilometers per hour. 43 miles per hour. Chassis, custom. Lightweight aluminum and plexiglass body. Style 3-wheeled enclosed microcar. Seats. 1 driver plus 1 passenger drive. Rear wheel electric drive. Paul Arzens was a French industrial designer and painter with a background in locomotives and futuristic trains. He wasn't just an artist. He was a visionary who imagined the future of transportation when the rest of the world was stuck in war. In 1942, during the Nazi occupation of France, gasoline was extremely scarce. So Arzens didn't wait for the world to invent electric cars. He built his own. Because, well, it looks like an egg. A giant, shiny, 3-wheeled glass and aluminum bubble. Fully enclosed, aerodynamic shape. Lightweight construction for efficiency, covered in curved plexiglass, a rare material at the time. Gently domed roof and side windows forming a true egg shape. The goal? Maximum efficiency, minimum weight, and a distinctively futuristic look. Under the bubble was a simple but effective drivetrain. Electric motor powered by a bank of lead-acid batteries. Range around 60 to 100 kilometers, depending on terrain and weight. Rechargeable from a standard outlet. In 1942, remember, this was decades before Tesla or hybrids. At a time when most cars were big, loud and gas-powered, the URF was quiet, clean and clever. What makes the URF Electrique amazing is not just how weird it looks, it's how smart it was. 3 wheels, 2 front, 1 rear. For reduced rolling resistance, lightweight aluminum body for max efficiency, bubble cabin for visibility and weather protection. Electric-only drive train decades before. It was mainstream designed to run on renewable electricity, not fuel. It was truly a wartime solution with peacetime vision. The 1940s were not kind to innovation. Most industries were focused on war, not design. But Arzens saw the fuel shortages as an opportunity to rethink mobility. In Nazi-occupied France, gasoline was rationed or confiscated. Mobility was restricted. Metal and rubber were scarce. And yet, Arzens managed to build the URF almost entirely by hand, in Paris, with recycled and experimental materials. That alone makes it heroic engineering. Though small, the URF could reach around 40 to 45 miles per hour, drive quietly with minimal vibration, seat a passenger in its rear bubble compartment. It wasn't fast or luxurious, but it was practical, silent, and safe from weather. And it turned every head it passed. The URF Electrique predicted so many trends we see today: microcars, electric mobility, urban commuting pods, aerodynamic teardrop design, lightweight, sustainable vehicles. Even modern EVs like the Renault Twizy or Aptera owe something to Arzens' vision. Amazingly, the URF Electrique still exists. It was preserved and is now part of the collection at the Musée des Arts et Métiers in Paris, where it's celebrated as one of the earliest EVs ever built. It is occasionally displayed in design and technology exhibitions and remains a favorite among designers, historians, environmentalists, futurists. Yes, the URF was visionary. But let's be honest, it looked like a bubble on wheels. It had no crash protection, limited speed and power. Visibility was tricky in sunlight, plexiglass glare, only useful for short city trips. But those flaws were the price of pushing the envelope. The 1942 URF Electrique is a wartime marvel, a pre-Tesla electric car, a vision of urban transport that's still relevant today. It wasn't mass-produced, it didn't win races, but it proved that mobility could evolve, even in the harshest of times. Paul Arzens wasn't building a car, he was building a message. The future belongs to the bold. Number 2. 1956, GM Firebird II, the turbine-powered car of tomorrow. Feature details: year 1956, manufacturer General Motors, GM Division. GM styling section under Harley Earl. Type experimental concept. Car powertrain gas turbine. Engine body titanium. First in car history. Transmission 4-wheel drive. Guidance system experimental autopilot. Wire-guided highway concept. Seating 4-passenger sedan. Performance approximately 200 horsepower turbine engine, 40,000 RPM top speed, approximately 100 to 125 miles per hour. Theoretical. The Firebird II was part of GM's Firebird trilogy of concept cars, made between 1953 and 1959. These were not related to the later Pontiac Firebird muscle car. This was a completely separate, experimental series meant to imagine jet-powered personal cars. Firebird Obers, 1953. A single-seat jet-style prototype. Firebird II, 1956. A family sedan with space-age systems. Firebird III, 1959. Fully autonomous experimental vehicle. The Firebirds were displayed at GM's Motorama auto shows to blow the minds of post-war Americans and show what the future might look like. The Firebird II was shaped like a missile crossed with a luxury sedan. Key features: wraparound canopy like a jet cockpit, afterburner-style rear tail, wing-inspired fins, covered wheels for aerodynamic flow. Instead of a gas or diesel engine, it used a gas turbine, like in a jet airplane. GM's Whirlfire GT304 turbine engine ran at 40,000 RPM. No pistons, no spark plugs, just jet propulsion via combustion. Gas turbines were explored as the future of propulsion in the 1950s. Cleaner burning, fewer moving parts, and able to run on multiple fuels. But they had huge drawbacks. We'll get to those. The Firebird II was the first car ever made with a titanium body. Titanium is light and strong, but incredibly expensive and hard to shape. GM used it to show that no cost was spared in imagining the future. Yes, in 1956, GM envisioned self-driving cars. Firebird II was equipped with an experimental autopilot system designed to interact with a wire embedded in the highway. This wire would guide the car, hands-free driving. GM didn't just build the Firebird II, they created an entire futuristic ecosystem for it. Dedicated smart highways, electronic traffic control, remote communication with control towers, automatic steering and braking. They literally filmed promotional videos showing families lounging in the car while it drove itself. Decades before Tesla or Waymo. The Firebird II was technologically radical. No other concept car had this much future tech in one package. Visionary. Predicted self-driving, electric guidance systems and smart infrastructure. A design icon. Bold, sleek, and unlike anything else on the road. A materials experiment. Titanium plus glass canopy equals never done before in automotive. Part of GM's cultural domination in the post-war era. It was less about engineering a real product and more about sparking imaginations. It was literal propaganda for the future. And it worked. Let's be honest, Firebird II, while cool, was also pretty crazy. Gas turbines suck for cars. Poor fuel economy, slow throttle response. Too hot and loud, expensive to produce titanium is wildly expensive. No real road system for the autopilot wire. No infrastructure to support guided highways. Complexity made mass production impossible. It was a dream machine, not a practical vehicle. But that was the point. Even though it never hit the streets, the Firebird II left a big mark. Influenced other concept cars like the Chrysler Turbine, 1963, shaped the public imagination about what future cars would be inspired tech, like cruise control, drive-by-wire, and HUD's influenced movies like The Jetsons and Back to the Future. It was peak jet age optimism, the belief that technology would solve everything. The Firebird still exists and is preserved in the GM Heritage Center. It's rarely driven, but it's occasionally shown at museums and concours events, where it never fails to draw crowds. The 1956 GM Firebird II is one of the most ambitious concept cars ever built. It was a bizarre mix of a jet plane, a family car, a robot chauffeur, a titanium spaceship on wheels. It was completely impractical, but totally unforgettable. We're not just building cars, we're building the future. Number 1. 1970 Ferrari 512 S Modulo. The space capsule on wheels. Feature detail. Year introduced 1970. Geneva Motor Show. Designer Paolo Martin Pininfarina. Based on Ferrari. 512. S race car chassis. Chassis number 27. Engine 5.0 litre. Ferrari weights 12. Rear mid-engine horsepower. Approximately 550 horsepower. Top speed claimed approximately 220 miles per hour. 355 kilometers per hour. Body style, two-seat low-slung coupe. Entry mechanism, sliding canopy, no doors. Height approximately 935 millimeters, 36.8 inches, lower than a Ford GT40. Weight approximately 900 kilograms, 1,984 pounds. The Modulo began life as a Ferrari 512 S Le Mans race car chassis, number 027. It was retired from competition and handed over to Pininfarina, Ferrari's longtime design partner, to be transformed into a bold new concept. Enter Paolo Martin, the man who dared to turn a Ferrari into a sci-fi sculpture. The result was a vehicle that stunned everyone at the 1970 Geneva Motor Show. It looked more like a moonlander or an alien escape pod than a car. The Modulo is less a car and more a rolling art installation. It's a symbol of pure conceptual freedom. Wedge shape, sharp nose and flat rear, a hallmark of 1970s wedge design. Fully enclosed wheels. The tires are hidden under massive curved fenders. Canopy cockpit, no doors. You enter by sliding the glass canopy forward. Interior, minimalistic, futuristic dash, with aviation-inspired controls, quad tailpipes, center-mounted like rocket boosters, exposed engine cylinders, circular holes in the rear deck show off the V12 beneath every inch screams aerospace inspiration. No chrome, no grille, no classic cues. Just clean lines and danger. Though it was a concept, the Modulo was based on a real Ferrari 512 S race car. One of Ferrari's entries in the 1970 World Sports Car Championship. The 512S featured a 5.0-litre VAV, 12-engine 550 horsepower race. Tuned suspension and chassis mid-engine layout for balance and aerodynamics. While the Modulo never raced, it retained this legendary DNA under its futuristic body. The Modulo was never really meant to drive. It was a design exercise. But the fact that it could and later did is part of what makes it legendary. However, there are some challenges. No rear visibility, no mirrors or back window, difficult entry, exit. You need to slide into it like a jet pilot. No ground clearance. Extremely delicate construction. Limited air cooling for the engine. So yeah, gorgeous and fast? Yes. Practical? Not even close. The Modulo wasn't just a wild shape. It was a design manifesto. In the early 1970s, designers were moving away from curves and chrome, embracing flat surfaces, geometric shapes, and futuristic minimalism, exploring space-age aesthetics due to the Apollo missions and Cold War futurism. Modulo was pure vision, and people either loved it or hated it. But no one forgot it. After the show circuit, the Modulo sat quietly in Pininfarina's collection. Many saw it as too fragile or too strange to ever become roadworthy. That is, until James Glickenhaus, a wealthy American car collector and filmmaker, bought it in the 2010s. He worked with his team to restore and make the Modulo drivable, re-engineer parts of the drivetrain, give it a fully functional interior and cooling system. Today, it's one of the only concept cars from that era that's fully functional and street-driven. The Ferrari Modulo paved the way for future wedge supercars like the Lamborghini Countach and Lotus Esprit concept designs by Bertone, Ital design, and more modern hypercar design language. Clean, aggressive, experimental. It's also frequently cited by automotive designers as a masterclass in form, sci-fi and futurist circles as a car too advanced for Earth. It remains one of the most iconic concept cars ever created. Let's be real, you can't park it. You can't drive it without people crowding you. It has no trunk, limited cooling, and maybe 3 inches of ground clearance. It's like driving a spaceship through a shopping mall. But who cares? The Modulo isn't about errands, it's about imagination. A breathtaking piece of automotive art, a rare real-world sci-fi dream. A love letter to design without limits, possibly the most unusable supercar ever built. But its influence lives on in everything from supercars to cinema.